The member for Macmillan.
Well, thank you for the call, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, my question is to the Minister for the Environment and Energy. Will the Minister update the House on the government's response to the closure of Hazelwood Power Station at Morwell in Latrobe Valley? And what is the government doing to maintain energy security? And is the Minister aware of any alternative approaches?
The Minister for the Environment and Energy.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I thank the member for Macmillan for his question, recognising his deep commitment to the job security of those in his electorate. The decision by the owners of Hazelwood to close at the end of March next year is a sad day for the workers, a sad day for their families and a sad day for the community in the Latrobe Valley. Now, the Turnbull government stands ready to assist those workers by announcing a $43 million package, which will include job active assistance and training, which will also include an infrastructure component as well as a jobs and investment package, Mr Speaker. The government will continue to work with the Australian Energy Regulator to ensure that the upward pressure on prices is not too great, as well as working with the Australian Energy Market Operator to ensure energy security and the stability of the grid is maintained, bearing in mind that Victoria will now go from being a net energy exporter to a net energy importer, as 22% of Victoria's supply is taken out of the equation. Now, I'm asked by the member for Macmillan, am I aware of any alternative approaches? Now, I'm at least aware of 12 different approaches from those opposite when it comes to energy policy over less than 10 decades. Let's go through it. The CPRS, in less than a decade. 12 different approaches in less than a decade.
Members
the
on my left.
CPRS, and you were for it, then you weren't. That Athenian model of democracy, the Citizens' Assembly. You were for that, then you weren't for that. Then you had that Jeffersonian quote, there will be no carbon tax under a government I lead, and then you went ahead and betrayed the Australian people by introducing the carbon tax. And then, of course, Mr Speaker, you had a policy, a shameful policy of giving more than $500 million of taxpayers' money to Hazelwood to keep it open to compensate it for the carbon tax. At the same time, the then member for Batman was negotiating with the owners of Hazelwood and other coal generators to actually close, Mr Speaker. And now you have a policy of a 50% renewable energy target where you're shamelessly trading away the blue-collar jobs in the regions for green votes in the city, Mr Speaker. That is your policy, selling out blue-collar jobs in the region to win green votes in the city. Now, Mr Speaker, you don't have to take my word for it of how bad Labor's policy. With the greatest respect to the Leader of Government Business, the real fixer was Graham Richardson. This is what he wrote in The Australian about Labor's policy. The farce of this policy has become obvious to all. Labor has no plan on how this target would be reached. Sadly, Labor is playing games with people's lives. It's no good playing roulette and hoping your numbers come up. The poor and the pensioners particularly require certainty about lights and heat, Mr Speaker. Only the coalition can be trusted on energy security, energy affordability and to get Australia to a lower emissions future.
The Minister's time has concluded.